Well, today we're going to be working on my wife's Samsung dryer. It's about 12 or 13 years old. It tumbles, but still doesn't heat. So today we're going to remove or replace the heating element, which is down here. From what I understand, you're going to need a flashlight, a flathead, Phillips head, and needle nose pliers. And here is the heating element, as well as thermostat and other replacement parts. We'll be testing those with an ohm meter to see which one really is bad, or possibly replace all of them. And before we get started, I've removed the power, gigantic plug here. And also, just for reference, this is our model number, DV350AEW/XAA. Let's get started with 2 screws in the back. We'll remove the front panel here, and then we'll remove this piece here so we can access first the heating coil here. Take a look at it there, and then we'll move to the back and pull it out through the back. A lot of this is referenced by a YouTube video by the name of Tall Farm Boy. So we'll see how it goes. He says it's a 2 out of 10. Again, that's Tall Farm Boy. Okay, first step, I'm in the back here. Remove the 2 screws. Got 1 here and 2 here. Okay, they're removed. That was easy. Now it's time to lift off the top and access the front panel. Okay, top panel is off. Now let's move to the front and remove some screws up here. From what I understand, I need to remove that screw and that screw right here and here, and that should help me remove the control panel. Okay, I've got the front control panel moved forward, and apparently on this model, these screws that were removed were unnecessary for removal, so I'll put those back. Looks like there's little clips here that hold this plate in place, and there's little tabs down here. They go in the slots and they pull right out, and then what I'll do is unplug that and set this panel aside. Front control panel has been removed. There were a couple plugs over here. Unplug those and set that aside over there. And now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws need to come out, and this whole front piece will come off to give me access to the heating element container that's down here. Screws have been removed. Boom, boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Simply lift and tilt back this way, and then lift it off and pull it aside. As you can see, I've kind of pulled the front panel back, and it was more than just a lift. I had to press down here and here. This was poking up through these little slots, and when I did that, bang, this came off. And then I'll need to unplug this piece here, and this should lift right out. Bingo. A little bit of dust and dirt, and look at that, a penny. Not big money, but something. Okay, down here in this metal box is the heating element, and on the side, inside there, are hookups for thermostats and other elements that were part of that replacement package I got from Amazon. So there's a lot of junk down here. There's no telling what may have happened here, but I'm finding all kinds of money and little knickknacks I'm sure my daughter finds and leaves in her pockets, and that may have gotten in there. I mean, I was surprised there was money all down through here. So I'm going to also clean this up pretty good and get this out of here, because I'm sure it's a hazard. Also, I didn't mention earlier that before I got started here, I spent a lot of time cleaning up the exhaust in the back down here, and sure enough, there was a lot of lint in there, and I'm sure that didn't help. So getting all this junk out of here, but next step will be to remove this screw here. That's one screw that holds this heating element box, and then I've got to remove it through the back. It won't fit through this little opening here. So let me loosen that screw and then I'll move to the back. I've got that little screw out, so this should lift up. So that should loosen it. Then we'll go in around the back and we'll remove a back panel there and access this heating element box. And there's 2 wires that we'll need to remove so that this entire box can be removed. Let's get to that. Here's a sample of the knickknacks that I pulled out of there. Hey, I got more than a penny there. I've got a couple dimes and a quarter and about 5 pennies and all kinds of other knickknacks. And I'm guessing if any of this metal or other metal got in there, it could have shorted out that heating element. I was surprised to find how far back some of that stuff was in the bottom of the dryer. Also, just to show you, I've got little Tupperware things, and as I've been doing each of these steps, I put the different screws in there so that I'll work backwards from the most recent to the first ones to put this back together, make sure I put the screws into the right spots. All right, so I'm in the back and I need to remove 1, 2, and a 3rd screw down here, and then I will pull that out, and that'll give me access to the heating element box that's back over here. Okay, 3 screws are out. There's a tab here. Looks like I just need to lift that up. When I pull this out, and apparently it comes straight out, and this is one nasty dirty piece of tubing that I'll have to clean up. So after I replace this element and before I put everything together, I'm going to shop vac this out very thoroughly. Okay, here we are inside here. This is the heating element box. I've dislodged it already, but I need to get up here and remove some wires. I've got to remove that blue one. It's closest to me, and then it's on the top, and then up further away on the heating element there's a red wire that needs to be removed, and then I should be able to remove this whole box. I've got the wires loosened. Notice that the ones that need to come loose were taped to the heating element box. So I've removed that tape, got them unplugged. Took a little bit of leverage. They're on there pretty tight, so I'm going to slide this out. Well, I've got the heating element out, and as you can see, it is filthy dirty. It's got some nastiness in there. I'm guessing some of that bad stuff got in there and messed it up. There's the plugs. I took the plug off here, and I took the plug off here. Should be easy to do. I'm going to clean this up real good, and then there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 covered with bent screws that need to be removed, and we'll get to that heating element shortly. Got to remove screw here, here, and these side screws here, and then we will lift off this panel and see what we've got. Also, I'll do some ohm testing to make sure I find the right part that's broken. I had to get down here. There was a little tab that was bent over. I had to bend that back with my needle nose pliers, and I found another screw here. It was under a lot of dust. So I've got actually 7 screws that I had to take out, plus the 2 here. And so we're going to lift this off. And there is my heating element. Looks pretty charred up. A lot of dust in here. I'm sure that's not a good thing. We'll do some testing here and see if this element is bad, this, and if this is bad. And then we'll replace accordingly. Okay, so I did some testing and I'm not getting any resistance through here, which tells me something might be bad in here. I'm getting resistance here and here, so I'm going to remove this. So to do that, I need to flip up these little tabs with the needle nose pliers so these can slide out. They slide out. and the whole unit will come out, and then I'll replace it with this unit and slide the tabs in here, and then bend their little tabs back in here down to hold them in place. Okay, got in there with the needle nose pliers and bent those little tabs. And they slide out pretty easily. So I can take this up and out, set it aside, and we'll drop this in, and then slide those tabs in accordingly. Alright, we found it. I feel much better that this is a bad coil. If you look real close here, you can see that's no longer attached. It's been burned out. I'm not sure what causes that, but you can also see down here there's a crack in the piece that holds this together. So it's a good thing that we're in here taking this out and replacing it. So let's put that new one in after I clean this mess out and clean it up a little bit. Looks like the top is looking pretty clean. Bottom here needs to be cleaned out, and then we'll reassemble. All right, that's much cleaner now. Got the shot back in there and then used a moist towel and wiped it out. So we're gonna take this heating element, put it in here, slide the tabs through these insulating holes here, and then bend the tabs over. Got the new coil in here and put these tabs through here, and if you can see, I've bent them over and they're locked in place. Something else to note, when I first put this in, this wire was touching this metal. You don't want any of this metal to touch the casing. Obviously it would be a very bad day if you turn that on and it was touching. So be sure you do that, and we're gonna seal this up and put it back in the dryer. All the screws are back in. Replace the screws on here and here, and on the back side. It's all cleaned up. Let's get this back to the dryer. Okay, before I put everything back in here, I'm gonna chop back out all this mess. I'm sure that all of the dust and junk and whatever hair from the dog will chop back out what we can. Okay, I've got the heating element box in there with the unit installed. Put the wires in there, top blue and the back red one. It's in place. Now I need to lift this up, slide it into the little hole that's back here, and then fasten the screw that's up front here. I've got the heating element in place, the box there, so I will get that little screw that goes in here. That'll fasten that. It's amazing, that's all that holds it in place, but it takes some time to get to. Once I get that on, then I'll start reassembling. I'll need to put this tube in the back, and then we'll start putting the front on, and then the top, and then we'll do a test run. Next up, we're going to put this tube in the back here, and put it down there. The end needs to go in that little hole down there. Okay, back tube is attached. 3 screws went in pretty easily. So now we're gonna add the front panel. I'm whittling my screws down. So the front panel includes all these screws here, and then the top will be those two. We'll put that back in and that back on, and then slide this back, and we'll do our test. So I've got the front panel ready to go slide into place. Dropped it into these little slots and tabs down here, connected those up. But before you seal this, make sure you reattach this plug. Okay, moment of truth. We're gonna give this a little push and see if these little tabs snap into place. Bang, that was easy. So, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, 6 screws to go in here. Okay, the front is on. Just as a special note, be sure to put these screws in first, because if you open this door and they're not on, this thing will want to fly off if you're trying to put these 2 screws in. So these 4 first, and then put these 2 in. Okay, now we're going to put on the front panel. It's located over there. And gotta make sure that I put these little plugs in before I attach it. And if you'll recall, I thought I needed to remove screws, but these little tabs will hold this in place. I've lined up the tabs that were down here with the slots, plugged in the plugs, and pop, it went right into place. Now for the top. Okay, top, I just lined up the little slots with the tabs that are on the front panel there. And we're gonna drop it down, snap it into place, and my last 2 screws are going in. Plug, vent, slide into place, test. I've got the plug in place. I've got the vent tube hooked up. My last 2 screws are in place. I'll slide this puppy back. And tester. All right, we're gonna power up. And we'll go for normal dry, and start. It's running. Now we have heat. Oh yeah, feels warm in here. Excellent. Finished that. Thank you to the Tall Farm Boy on replacing the heating element on a Samsung. Not too bad. He gave it a 2 out of 10 on difficulty. However, I'd probably give that maybe a 3 or a 5, just because there's so many different pieces that got to come out, and then getting in the back was a little bit hairy, climbing under there and trying to get that heating box out. And there's my pup dog. He's out here watching. Signing off for now. Thanks for watching.